Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing well today. I know it has been a long time since my last video. I do apologize for that, but everything just got really busy and we're actually getting things ready to go on a trip, so things are really messy in the house, but I figured this is a good time to give you guys a little update. It's actually going to be my part 2 of my buying secondhand kind of series. And initially I was gonna do another topic, but I think today I would like to reveal some of my most recent purchase, and it leads in really well with the vintage purchase topic. So I will talk about vintage buying in this video today. So let's start with showing you guys some of the vintage pieces that I got these days, like recently. So this one is a beautiful caviar Chanel backpack that I recently got through auction from Japanese source, and it's, as you can see, the gold hardware, it's still very beautiful. The gold is so saturated and it's like you can tell it's gold plated, and it comes with also these two beautiful but quite heavy metal hardware balls, or I forgot what they're called. I'm pretty sure they're just like, so there is a little bit of wear. Maybe I can try to polish actually, but there's a little bit of wear on these, but overall the bag is in very beautiful condition. Again, it goes to how awesome the caviar leather is, because honestly, if you look at the corners, there's barely any rubbing because how durable this hardware is. So some of you, if you follow me really closely, you might know that recently I have returned back to work. So initially I was hoping to purchase a bag that I could use for my laptop. My laptop is not very big, so I thought, like, I did look at the measurement roughly, but not in detail. So I really initially plan on using this as a daily bag to put my laptop in and go to the office. I know some people will say that's not, like, that doesn't work, but right now I am using like a Marc Jacobs backpack as well. It's not a design, like a backpack design for laptops, but this one is, the opening is actually really convenient. It's just a little bit too small, tiny bit too small for my laptop. It wouldn't close if I put it in, but otherwise it's actually quite an awesome bag. It has a really nice back pocket. The interior is actually lined with lambskin, so it's beautiful, and the mechanism to like close and secure the bag is actually quite straightforward. So I personally think it's a very nice, very beautiful purchase. The interesting thing is the font on the stamp is actually different than most of the Chanel font that you would see. So that initially got me a bit concerned, but I did look into other bag of the same model, and the stamping and everything does align. The only thing with this bag is the hologram sticker fall off. And when I checked the online listings, I would say a good chunk of them have the same issue. So I would just say the hologram is probably not well secured for that, for this series of bags. So that's probably why the hologram got, like, fell off from a lot of these bags. That's a common issue you also notice with vintage bags. You can see a lot of the similar flaws or defects around similar years for whatever bag you're purchasing. All that to say, as you can see, the auction tags are still there, and I am thinking about potentially letting this go just because it won't fit my laptop. But at the same time, it's such, I don't actually have any backpack in my luxury bag collection, so I think this would be a very nice addition regardless. But if you happen to see this video and you're interested, feel free to reach out to me on my Instagram. Like, it would be a very, very surprisingly good deal. I think this would only go for about 2,200 Canadian dollar. So really good deal on this one. I'm letting go for the same price that I got, but anyways, like I said, I don't mind keeping it, but it's not something I really need at the moment. So this is the first bag, and then the second one is this beautiful Kelly bag. Look at her. She is absolutely stunning, because this is a Celine Kelly in the size 35. So it is quite a larger bag in silver hardware or platinum hardware. And it does have the double D ring. So it's a newer model of the Kelly. I will do a comparison of vintage and new Kelly when in my like upcoming video. But this is one of the newer models, and the condition of this bag is absolutely pristine. Like it's in the Epsom leather, which is most common for most Cellier style bags, and the corners are basically perfectly intact, no issue whatsoever. And it does come with lock and the clochette as well, and the keys, of course. So everything, it's all there. And look at how beautiful the hardware and the stamping on this bag. It's definitely, it's a extremely good deal, and it's definitely on the larger side. That's probably one of the reasons why it was priced so well. But this color, I find this color to be very unique. It's actually more of a olive green brown color. It is a color bag, but it's so neutral that I feel like it could actually go year round, and it could be used with any kind of, you can easily wear with any outfit. And for some reason, I just feel like the Cellier bag definitely holds their shape much better. So in some ways, it kind of seem like they stay new longer because of it. But this one, definitely, there's no scratches on the Epsom leather whatsoever. And overall, the condition is really like new. Like even the feet, you can tell there's barely any scratches anywhere on it. So very, very beautiful find. Again, this one is a vintage bag from my Japanese source. Last but not least is actually another basket bag from Celine. So this bag, it's very similar to my Louis Vuitton bag, which I use very regularly during summer. And when I saw this one coming as a come up on the auction list, it was for a pretty good price, but I wouldn't say it's like a super deal, but it was a pretty good price, and the overall condition was quite nice. And everything, there's no scratches on the logo. You know, there's no frailing or issue with the hay being used on the bag. So overall shape of this raffia bag is okay. The straps also look like they're fairly new. It's a quite large size though. I didn't want to buy something that's too similar to the Louis Vuitton because then it would be redundant. So at least this one I could use easily when there's when I need to carry more stuff. And I think in my previous review videos, I've said, you know, these basket bags are actually sometimes very easy to use because they're super, super light. So even if I pack this with tons of stuff inside, it would still be very manageable to carry, just because there's barely any weight to the leather pieces and to the raffia, to the wicker or haze that's being on the material themselves. So again, this one still have the auction tag on, but all three of them are, this one is not an auction. This one is a straight purchase from a vintage seller, and this one is also from auction. And I would just like to talk a little bit about the different pathways that you can get your vintage bags, and how to make sure you're getting from a reputable source. So if you guys don't already know, Japan definitely have the largest inventory for all vintage bags. They were they're a huge luxury country, and for luxury shopping, luxury purchase, and luxury buying, and still is. But I think the economy of the country has declined quite a bit over the last little while, which caused them to be letting go a lot of these vintage pieces at a very low price. Sellers around the world are buying them in bulk, like a wholesale basically for luxury items. Like you've probably seen videos and pictures of, you know, shopping malls with like stacked of Louis Vuitton monogram bags on the shelves, and those are not fake videos, and those are not fake bags. They're legit, authentic bags. They just have overloaded them with vintage luxury goods. And you know, like I did purchase, this is not, I'm not new per se to the vintage shopping. If you follow my channel, there was a period of time I did a lot of Louis Vuitton vintage buying. You could auction them for a very good price on eBay. But the issue is a lot of those items are actually in quite poor older condition. And by the time they ship to Canada, there is a pretty hefty duty that you have to pay. So at the end, the item is actually not a super great deal in comparison to some other sources. You know, keep in mind that eBay as a platform, they do charge a chunk of that amount as a fee for themselves. So if you can find direct buyer or direct seller, it would really save you a good that uh, the middleman fee, right? The consignment fee, basically. But there is benefit to it, right? Through eBay, there is authentication, there is guarantee, and if you're able to pay with your credit card, there is that layer of protection as well. So there is always benefit to go through some of those bigger platforms such as like eBay, Postmarks, different things like that. And then in terms of buying, I could share a few links, but if you Google vintage bags from Japan or vintage consignment shop from Japan, you will see that there's quite a few that can come up. They don't always have very good price, but if you monitor them, they do sometimes give you good prices. The challenge is likely the language barrier if you don't know Japanese or do use translation function. Um, but there's just so much that sometimes it's really difficult to navigate those websites. It does take a lot of research, but there is a few bigger consignment or auction website that you could potentially look into, like the Macari website. Actually, that's a pretty well-known website, which you can actually buy directly from the buyer or seller themselves. Again, the website is all Japanese. Sometimes you need a Japanese location to create an account. So that is essentially how a lot of the seller in North America are getting their product line. So obviously there is a bit of background research that you have to get into. Some oftentimes, another thing to be mindful of is oftentimes they actually don't sell to individual seller either. They only sell to companies where you can buy in bulk. So at least like 10, 20 bags to start it for them to make it worthwhile for shipment or bigger auction or things like that. So sometimes it's not that straightforward, but that's one of the sources. If you have, there's actually at this point lots of resellers or sellers that can source bags for you from Japan. So even with that, middle person and added fee, those prices are generally a lot cheaper than what you can find on the North American market. So that's another possible option. So if you have a very like good contact or trustworthy seller, you can always go through those channels as well. Or a lot of consignment store, they mainly sell vintage goods. Those are generally also more reliable sources to purchase them as well. I mean, with vintages, so there are a few big considerations with buying vintage goods. Now, the year and manufacturing and the condition of the bag is key, and sometimes it's very difficult to navigate because from a picture you could rarely tell. Like, it's not easy to always tell the condition of the bag, and be mindful that these bags can be 20, 30 years old, 40 years old even. So sometimes even the seller themselves don't really know the history of the bag, or potentially it has work being done on it, where the original bag was from. You know, there's nothing, usually speaking, that kind of information is not available, not to be found. The only thing you can obviously know is based on the stamp of the bag, you would be able to tell what year it is made. And you know, of course, from the color and leather, you have a good sense of that. But otherwise, you really can't know what happened to the bag prior to that, right? So that's why you have to be careful and do your due diligence to check if there was any signs of heavy repair. You know, authenticity, obviously, it's a big one. Always ask for photos that you can submit requests for your own authentications and things like that. So that's the first, I guess, big factor that I would caution you to consider when you're buying vintage good is the actual condition of the bag. I've come across a few bags that did have repairs done, but they are generally well done. That is not a huge issue. For example, I'll show you guys. I have been really loving my newly added Birkin 30, so she's actually so tiny compared to the 35. And this bag it was disclosed to me when I made the purchase that there were some repairs done to the bag, which I didn't really mind per se because, for example, if you look at the handle coloring, it's not noticeable. It's very well done. Same thing with the corner touch-ups. You can't really tell that there was difference in paint or color. Really well done overall. And the gold hardware has a little issue too. But overall, you know, for the price that I paid, I can't really complain about it. It's such a cute, fairly neutral bag, but bright enough to still like add a little color and brightness to your outfit. The one other thing is you can tell by the age or how much it's been used based on how much the handle of the bag stretches for a Birkin bag especially. So a lot of bags you can see the handle has been stretched quite a bit. That means, you know, there has been quite a bit of use. This one has quite a bit of stretch as well, I would say. But again, I did pay only a fraction of the price of a, you know, current market price, so I couldn't really complain about that. But yes, this is another bag that was purchased from a Japanese vintage seller as well, and again, never really had any concern or issues with authenticity or anything like that. They look so pretty side by side. So condition is the first thing to be aware of, and then if you can accept the condition as is, well, then go for it, right? Because often you can find a really good deal for it. The second one is duty. So if you're based in Canada or US, basically anywhere in the world that has that duty, like pretty stringent border, what is it called, like border search, or, you know, then you probably want to be at least be prepared for a possible duty charge. Now in Canada, it's hit and miss, I would say. Some bags do come in with a pretty surprising duty charge, and some of them not so much. I'll give you an example. Like there's 3 that I've purchased recently. This one only charged me sale taxes. So Ontario, it's 13%. I had to pay a 13% fee on top of this bag. This weirdly, from the exact same seller, same auction source, I had to pay 30% on top of it. And luckily enough for the bag, for this Birkin, I didn't actually pay any duty. I paid sale tax on top of it. So you really don't really know what you will get charged. So I think, you know, expect the worst, which is 30%. Generally speaking, if you you know, buy something, the biggest amount generally they could charge you on top of the sale price is 30%, but 30% is a lot for something that's thousands of dollars. So that is the one thing I would caution you whenever you're buying anything outside the country. And I would say, especially from the States, for whatever reason, anything I've ever purchased from the States had a hefty tax, unless the company themselves, like if you're buying Louis Vuitton and it's shipped from the US, then no, they would cover that duty fee. But anything from a vintage store or from a reseller or a lot of even just like smaller companies, anytime you buy anything, it's like a really hefty charge. The workaround with that is you could actually go to the border and clear the tax yourself, and sometimes that will reduce the charge a little bit for you, but sometimes it doesn't. So it depends on how the fees are charged. And the reason for the inconsistency charge, not only is because the border goes through so many packages and they do have like a different system, but also the trade rules constantly change. So depending what the item is, depending on the material, depending on where it is made, all that could play in a factor of how much duty you will have to pay. So for those reasons, you know, sometimes it's just really hard to predict. So like I said, if you are planning to purchase from outside the country, then do be mindful. And that's usually another reason why sometimes a reseller might be a good idea, because then they will take on that risk themselves before they ship you the bag directly within the country, right? Within US or within Canada. So that is one other big factor. I think those are generally the 2 things that I consider when I'm buying. The one other thing is payment method. So of course, you know, if the website allows you to pay by credit card, it's beneficial. But there is, you know, often there is a conversion fee. So foreign current conversion fee that you have to consider. Generally speaking, is 2.5%, sometimes more. So do consider that, or have a credit card if you plan to do regular frequent purchase. Then maybe consider having a credit card that doesn't have that foreign currency charge. Or if you're paying through PayPal sometimes have a hidden fee, I would say, even though they say there is no charge, but there is generally a very small hidden fee when you're paying with PayPal, even if the credit card doesn't have a conversion fee. And sometimes the seller will also request for bank transfer, so that's another layer. So there's always generally have fees associated with that. For me, when I'm buying or selling good across internationally, I generally use Wise as my method of payment transfers. And if I can, whenever I'm buying, is credit card if I have that option. So I think that's all for today. It is a lengthy video, has a lot of information to it. But if you're, like I said, if you're interested in this bag, please reach out to me through my Instagram. Or if you have any questions about the content that I just shared, please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to talk bags with you guys. All right, talk to you soon. Bye.